Thanks for checking out this video. You could be listening to any idiot on the internet with a mic in front of them, but you chose to listen to us, and we appreciate that.
We're sending you a virtual hug. If you have any trade questions or start-sit questions, leave a comment. Justin or myself will definitely respond, or maybe even both of us will respond.
If you like the video, drop us a like, comment, sub. You know the drill.
Welcome to A Tribe Called Fantasy with your hosts, Greg and Justin.
Check the description for players that just didn't make the list this week, and leave us a comment if we forgot anyone on the list.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. We got week 9 trade targets. We got week 9 sell targets. So it's time to get down, and we're going to let you know what's the scenario.
Wait, before we start, do I need to apologize for saying to trade for Ezekiel Elliott from our last video?
What?
I said to trade for Ezekiel Elliott. He was one of our buy players.
I still like him as a buy target.
Buy low. If you can buy him low.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the value, honestly. It's not necessarily, oh, this player is going to be back to his original form. But yeah, if the price is right, then yeah.
Had 19 carries. Didn't do shit with it. But
didn't do shit. I stick by the buy low Ezekiel Elliott. And speaking of someone else on our list, Jarvis Landry is going to be starting us off. He was on the sell list last week. This week he's on the bye week.
Ooh.
Excuse me. This week he's on the bye list, and that's because he had 11 targets, and he only had 4 catches for 52 yards. So the numbers are down. He's underperforming, quote unquote, with what you were expecting. He's coming into a bye week, so you might be able to get him on a little bit of a discount because they're just looking for players that are going to be able to make some moves. And you just have to note that he played in a damn hurricane. It was sleeting. It was the wind was sideways. It was like that Family Guy reference where it's raining sideways.
Damn.
Like, it was bad. It was real rough.
I've honestly not watched that much Family Guy to know that is a reference.
It's really
so
unfortunate.
I'm glad you called out the Family Guy reference.
No problem.
It should be noted too, he had a touchdown called back.
Yeah.
So his fantasy output would look a lot different that day with the touchdown.
Exactly. And just the value you can get for him when he's sitting at a 10.2 average points, it looks worse than it is.
Maybe the Jarvis Landry owner wasn't really watching the game. They didn't see that touchdown called back.
Yeah, maybe they didn't see the rain. They just thought, oh, Jarvis Landry, classic, not doing much.
Yeah.
So if you can scoop him, I like him. I like his future going forward. He's obviously the number one now that OBJ's gone.
We got to talk about his...
Probably gone from Cleveland.
Yeah. A lot. I saw some speculation saying that he played his last game of football in Cleveland, which I hope for him it's true. He deserves better. Hopefully he can obviously come back the same. But regardless, the games he has during the playoff stretch, the matchups Jarvis Landry has are very nice. I think this is a really good trade target for if you're looking to make championship push. You got the Ravens week 14, the Giants week 15, and then the New York Jets week 16. It really doesn't the Ravens is a tough matchup, but I mean it doesn't get much juicier than that.
Yeah, that's a real championship move right there, especially if you have a winning team.
Yeah.
And maybe you're struggling every week with a third or a second wide receiver.
Interesting.
I think you're flipping back and forth. I think Jarvis Landry is a great trade target because you better chill out. Your team is not that good.
I'm trying to get Jarvis Landry on my team, and I didn't even put him on here.
Hey, man, I take full credit for this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Next on, do you have anything left to say about Jarvis?
I like Jarvis.
Same. We're both Jarvis fans.
Yeah.
Next, for trade targets, we have Brandon Aiyuk, who has really had a few breakout performances the past few weeks.
Ever since Deebo Samuel went down.
Earlier in the season when Deebo wasn't there, he had some really productive games as well. He even rushes the ball a bit, has had a few rushing touchdowns on the season. But, I mean, he's been very involved in the passing game the past couple of weeks. I believe he had 11 targets this past week. It was 10 or 11.
It was 11.
Yeah. And I mean, he has some great matchups coming up. He's got the Packers this week, which is a really good matchup. This team is struggling with injuries, and George Kittle, their number one pass catcher, he's out. As far as fantasy football goes, he's out for the season. Deebo Samuel is dealing with injuries, and it just kind of seems like he's always dealing with injuries. That's this season. I think he was dealing with injuries last season too.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are talented weapons that Nick Mullins is going to need to rely upon, especially throwing them back into games, which I think is what's going to be happening.
Yeah, that's another injury with Jimmy G. Having Nick Mullins is all these injuries have just carved this beautiful path for Brandon Aiyuk to flourish in his rookie season, and I think he's going to finish strong. And he's got Washington, the Cowboys, and the Cardinals for his playoff matchup, which is about as good as you can get. There's no haymakers in there. Just another point. Last week he played 90% of the snaps, so he is the clear number one. Kendrick Bourne played 86%, so they're 1 and 2. But just the fact that there's nobody else on the team, he's going to get the work.
Before it was Deebo Samuel and George Kittle were the lead pass catchers. They were the most targeted players. They're both not playing. I mean, when Deebo Samuel comes back, obviously it's going to impact the value. But I believe Deebo is dealing with some sort of hamstring injury. He's definitely not playing for a couple of weeks. So if you need a player that can win you games now, Brandon Aiyuk is going to be able to help you do that. Yeah, Deebo Samuel is, in fact, having a hamstring injury. He's not playing this Thursday. Hamstring injuries tend to linger and have a tendency to, flame up again, or I don't know. They can be persistent. So it's definitely, even if Deebo is back, George Kittle's still not there. Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Aiyuk, they're going to have value moving forward. We like Brandon Aiyuk a little bit more, though.
Yeah, this is – and just play devil's advocate here. His price is at its highest point right now, so you kind of have to manage expectations. Like, I'm not going to tell you to go out here and make a trade for him exclusively. I like him – when we talk about him as a trade, he's more of like a secondary piece. Say you're trading Mike Evans and you're trying to break him down into depth. Maybe you scoop Brandon Aiyuk and a lower end running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I'm thinking of it. I wouldn't necessarily go and trade, I need a good wide receiver. I'm going to go get Brandon Aiyuk one-on-one.
Yeah.
I think that's his value's too high right now. I just think that in the coming weeks, somebody to look out for, maybe somebody you want to scoop up as the second person in a trade.
I definitely think this is a wide receiver that you could still play every week, either as a strong wide receiver too, or like a really solid flex as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Very good matchup this Thursday, if you do end up scooping him before this Thursday.
At number 3 on the trade targets, we got Darren Waller. Darren Waller, you know the drill. He's a top 3 tight end. He's been making moves all season.
Currently ranked number 2 in our scoring league.
Yes, he is. Kittle. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But he's going to be tough to get. But if you are hurting, you just lost Kittle, your team's real good or something, and you need a tight end, I think if you're ever going to trade for him, this is the week. He just had a 7.8 point game. Not great, but that was strictly because of the weather. Derek Carr was not looking great out there in the hurricane. And if you're ever going to get him, now's the time. I don't think his value gets any lower. As a Raiders fan, how do you feel about Darren Waller?
I'm also Darren Waller owner.
Yeah. So I know it would take a lot for you to trade him.
Yeah, definitely because I have bias, but also because the fact of the matter is Darren Waller has been an elite tight end since week 1. He is Derek Carr's number 1 weapon. That's who he's looking to. He can bail him out. He's also just an athletic freak. He's a monster. He has great hands. He does it all. He's a do-it-all tight end. He really deserves to be in the top 3 conversation with Travis Kelce, George Kittle, in my opinion. There's a little bias there, but I think when you look at the numbers and what he does for his team, it supports that too. I think it's going to be very expensive to get Darren Waller, but if you have if you can find someone who has a Darren Waller that's struggling, if their team is losing and is kind of desperate to get wins, you can manufacture a trade for the right price to anyone.
Yeah.
It's all circumstantial. I mean, if you find a team that's struggling and has Darren Waller, you need that tight end and you have the trade assets, I would definitely go after him because he's not going to disappoint, especially in a tight end landscape that is so scarce.
It's barren.
Yeah.
He's got
it was Kelce, Kittle, Waller, and then a drop off.
Huge drop off. And then if you're looking at the playoff matchup, he's got the Colts, which is a pretty good matchup. They're kind of tough. But then he's got the Chargers and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are on the pickup, but I think you can score on all three of those teams. And I think the Raiders have proved that they can score on about anybody and also have goose eggs against anybody. But I do like the matchup for Darren Waller.
I'm curious, who do you think it would take to get Darren Waller? I mean, I'm thinking it's a running back and a wide receiver combination, but I'm curious what.
It's definitely going to have to be a 2-for-2 trade.
Yeah.
If you were giving up Mike Evans, I would say I would take Mike Evans, Darren Waller straight up if I was the Mike Evans owner and I needed a tight end.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe if you could package.
There's no way you'd be able to pull that off.
No.
If you could pull that off, that'd be a fleecing.
Yeah, you would probably have to trade whoever.
David Montgomery.
Yeah, whoever your tight end is, yeah, you got to trade him.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Maybe a Hunter Henry.
Gronk.
Hunter Henry Gronk, yeah.
Just tight ends that would be possible. Like to tight ends that we could say that where like if you offer them to the Darren Waller owner, they wouldn't completely turn their nose up.
Yeah, maybe Evan Ingram, Noah Fant.
Yeah.
And then throw in another player just to sweeten the deal. Maybe a DJ Chark, a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. I think if you're a good team and you have a decent tight end and you're looking to make an upgrade and you can kind of package an asset that you're not necessarily needing to use on a weekly basis, but kind of fills a need of that team, that's something I would definitely pull the trigger on to flip. Like Noah Fant's been a really good tight end, but Darren Waller has an assured role on that offense and guaranteed production.
Yeah.
He's getting like 6 to 8 targets every game.
It really does just depend on your team, though. Because if your first 4 wide receivers are Devontae Adams, Robby Anderson, Brandon Cooks, and like a T. Higgins, and you have Justin Jefferson on the bench, that's a great trade. But if Justin Jefferson is your third wide receiver, then I'm not doing that. I think if you don't have another flex play.
Yeah. We always talk about the importance of running backs, and obviously they're what's going to win you championships, but having that tight end that can produce week in and week out is really going to put your team over the top. And those wins are going to really start to accumulate when you have a consistent tight end. And the fact of the matter is you're going to have to pay up to get one of those tight ends.
That is facts.
But it could be the difference between winning and losing your championship.
That's why all Travis Kelce owners are probably doing pretty well for themselves.
No doubt. Next on the list, we have Robby Anderson. Had a bit of a down week against the Falcons when you really wanted him the most if you're a Robby Anderson owner. But the fact of the matter is, up until this point, he's been incredibly consistent. Even his down week was still a pretty decent fantasy football week. Has a lot of really good matchups coming up. Got the Chiefs this week. Bucks is a bit hard, but down the playoff stretch, you got the Broncos, Packers, and football team. Packers not – these are all matchups that aren't necessarily phenomenal, but they're not terrible by any means. It's interesting. Maybe the Robby Anderson owners feeling a bit low. Maybe they're a bit unsure of what it looks like when Christian McCaffrey is back in.
Especially with all this DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel big games that have been going on. I feel like it's slightly diminished his stock because he was the only guy for a minute.
Yeah.
But I think now that the love's being spread a little bit, I think you can talk the Robby Anderson owner down a bit with the addition of DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel to those big games. But I personally think that Robby Anderson is obviously the number one in my eyes. He's Teddy Bridgewater's favorite target. When they throw to him, they succeed. They were trying to feed DJ Moore at the end of that game, and Teddy Bridgewater threw a pick. So I think Robby Anderson, you're going to see big things from him, and I think he can produce that wide receiver one upside without having a huge name that's going to make you hemorrhage your team.
And two, I think that I don't remember what I was going to say, actually.
Nice. Here's a great point.
Thank you. Let me go back. I think this is a player. I think Robby Anderson is a player that you're only going to be able to acquire if he's on a team that isn't doing good, sort of like Darren Waller. Because if these players are on a team that's doing well, they're not going to trade them away.
Yeah, either that or a team that's just so stacked.
Also true, like Robby Anderson's just chilling on their bench.
Yeah, because you got Robby Anderson super low in the draft. Like,
Very
people
true.
weren't taking Robby Anderson top 50.
Yep.
So you could have a slew of wide receivers, or they could, the Robby Anderson owner, and you could make a trade.
He's going to provide you consistency on a weekly basis over some other wide receivers that are a little bit more up and down. Like, I'm not saying I would necessarily recommend this trade, but something that would at least be interesting would be like Tyler Lockett, perhaps. I feel like I would rather have Tyler Lockett season long
Than Robby Anderson? No chance, dude. I'm taking Robby.
Ooh, I love this.
Man, it's just Robby is consistent.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett's going to lose you a game because he drops 7.
It's true.
And then he could win you a game because he drops 40. But what if that's the week your team went off already? So now you have 180 points when the team you're playing dropped 98.
Yeah,
it doesn't help you. So I think consistency throughout the team is something to look at more so than just big games every once in a while.
Yeah,
because those don't always align. When your one boomer bust player has a good game and the other one has a shit game, like it doesn't flip flop. Sometimes they both do good. Sometimes they both do terrible.
I feel like I'm trying to think of another player that would, like, wide receiver comparison. Who would you rather have? What about Will Fuller versus Robby Anderson?
Oh, Robby Anderson. You're giving me layups. Give me something dicey, bro. Now, if you're going to say DK Metcalf or something, I'd rather have DK Metcalf.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some, like, fringe players. What about
I would say Tyler Boyd would be a good one.
Okay.
That's a pretty even trade to me. I would rather have Robby Anderson over Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson, I'd rather have Robby Anderson.
All right.
Stuff like that.
Give you some names to work with.
Yeah. All right. It's time to move on to the sell targets. And we're starting off with a big name, Robert Woods. You've probably been looking to trade him for a little while, and I think now's the week. 7 catches, 85 yards, a rushing and a passing touchdown. This guy's everywhere. A rushing and a receiving touchdown. His playoff schedule is the Patriots, the Jets, and the Seahawks. So not bad.
Honestly, pretty juicy.
Pretty juicy, yeah.
I'm going to go buy some Robert Woods.
No. I think this is the perfect time to sell Robert Woods because
to a sucker like me.
To a sucker like Greg. Because Robert Woods is not going to produce like this every week. He's shown that he doesn't. And whenever he has these big games, you ride so high that you think that this is going to be a consistent thing. And then he screws you the next week. And then you remember, oh, this is Robert Woods. So I think you've been waiting to get rid of him. Now is the perfect time. Even the games he's had solid production, he's only getting 4 catches, 5 catches. If you could trade Robert Woods and another one of your bench players for Robby Anderson, I'm doing that in a heartbeat.
Same.
Because I'm just too worried about this. He's coming up on a bye week too. So that
this is the bye week, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, this is the bye week. So it might be a little bit harder to sell him this week. Maybe you have to wait till next week. But I think you can really sell the people that whoever you're trading that is.
I would go and look at a team that's doing well, and try and insert them in there and see what assets you can get in return.
Yeah, definitely. If you're trading a playoff team, you have to make sure you mention that playoff schedule because it is nice, and it is something they would want in the long run. But you, as the Robert Woods owner, know that consistency cannot be trusted.
Sure. Next on the sell list, we have DJ Moore, another inconsistent wide receiver who he had a down week. So he had 7.5. Hopefully, maybe you even sold him before this past week.
That would have been lovely.
That would have been the perfect time to do it. But he does have some decent games coming up against the Chiefs. Maybe you hold him, let him play the Chiefs this week. Let those numbers be a bit inflated because they're definitely going to be playing from behind. DJ Moore should see some heavy targets that game.
He had 93 yards week 5, 6, and 7.
That's insane.
That's impressive.
It is impressive with varying amounts of touchdowns as well.
His low targets is what kills me.
Yeah, it's his low targets. It's his
or not low targets, low receptions. He still gets some targets.
He's just not the number one on that team. Robby Anderson is clearly the favorite target. And Curtis Samuel is involved as well. We mentioned that with Robby Anderson. It's kind of a DJ Moore versus Curtis Samuel who's going to have the better game. They like to use Curtis Samuel in more creative ways than they like to use DJ Moore. I think that there's an argument to be made that that Curtis Samuel might even be the player you want more. I think I'd rather have DJ Moore, but I think there is an argument there.
I do too. I don't see it, but I guess it could be made.
Yeah.
I think the thing with DJ Moore, you don't necessarily have to sell him this week. Maybe you want to wait till next week and he has a better game. But I think you can use weeks 5 through 7 where he put up 19, 14, and 25 and just say that this week was an outlier, even though he has put up these games before. But in reality, he's just not getting the work. He's had 5 catches. That's his second highest game. His first most was 8 catches in week 2. But the rest, 2 catches, 4 catches, 4, 4, 4, 2. It doesn't make you feel good about your wide receiver 1 or your wide receiver 2.
Yeah. This is definitely a player you're packaging with another player to try and make it at least somewhat of an upgrade. Maybe you package him with another player to acquire Jamison Crowder, who's been coming off of injuries, or just someone who has higher upside. But I feel like Jamison Crowder is our scapegoat name because we can always depend on him to be undervalued.
Yeah, we love Jamison Crowder. Yeah. Should we move on to the real hot name?
Oh,
real
yeah.
Trigger word. This was a bit of a contentious point between Greg and myself, and I am all aboard the sell Jonathon Taylor train.
Wait, who said I wasn't on board with the sell Jonathon Taylor train?
Were you not?
I'm on board with the sell all Colts running backs.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm confused.
I don't want any of them.
That makes more sense. Yeah, taking on the Raiders, the Texans, and the Steelers on that playoff stretch. So that championship game's not looking great. So when you need him the most, he's not going to be there. And it looks like he's losing his job.
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator talked about Jordan Wilkins, saying that he's earned more opportunities. Jonathon Taylor has underperformed in weeks where they've played terrible teams. He has had some good games. He has had consistent workload, but this past week, it's kind of all going downhill. And I think this is going to be more what you see towards the end of the season. I think they're going to go back to the committee running back. I think they're going to start throwing in Hines more. I think now that Wilkins has emerged a little bit, he can still prove that he can do something. So 11 carries for 22 yards, not making you feel good. I know you're selling pretty low, but you don't want to sell. You don't want to take the risk on saying, oh, it's too low to sell, and then his value just becomes worse every single week.
Here's how I'm going to frame Jonathon Taylor to my potential buyer, that he was injured that game, which is the news that's being thrown around.
That's what Phillip Rivers said.
Said.
That man's got his players, though.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's real?
He was injured. It was a fluke. He's clearly the lead back. He had 26 touches in week 2. When you look at the numbers, he's getting consistent work. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is like, you've been low on Jonathon Taylor all year.
Yes, I have.
I
was starting to come around, and then as soon as I'm about to jump on board, he comes back to reality.
I mean, I think it's going to be a hot hand approach. I think there are going to be weeks where Jonathon Taylor gets 20 touches. There's also going to be weeks where it's Jordan Wilkins. They're going to involve Nyheim Hines in the passing game. So, like, that role is already dedicated. So, the Wilkins and Jonathon Taylor aren't necessarily going to be passing down dependent running backs. That's not what you want out of your RB1 or your RB2. If chances are there's an outcome where Jonathon Taylor might be your RB1.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, I would not trade him because he is undervalued, or he's overvalued.
Yeah,
for the most part. But then this week makes his value go down. So now people are going to undervalue him. Am I saying that right?
People are going to try and shortchange you on Jonathon Taylor.
Exactly. I'm losing my mind here. My phone's dying. I'm panicking.
I mean, I'm probably looking to move on from Jonathon Taylor for a more consistent running back.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna just sell him just because.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking that much. I think he has some validity to him as a running back. It's just if you can come up with something, maybe a high-end running back too, maybe a package deal where Todd Gurley, yeah, maybe a package deal where you have running backs already and you can scoop a Chase Edmonds and a flex player.
Let me ask
and
you
you
this.
package something together.
Would you rather have Jonathon Taylor or Melvin Gordon?
That's tough. Melvin Gordon.
I would also rather have Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Jonathon Taylor or
Ezekiel Elliott.
yeah.
I'm taking Zeke all day.
Jonathon Taylor or I had a good one. They threw me off with Ezekiel
Sorry,
Elliott.
dude.
No, it's all good. I don't know. It's just I don't know, man. Jonathon Taylor, it could have just been injury. Who knows? It's definitely cause for concern that Jordan Wilkins got 20 touches, though.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Jonathon Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, that is a good one.
That was the one I wanted to ask.
Oh, man. I'm so out on both of these players that's such a sideways move. I think you'd have a better chance of getting. I think the Melvin Gordon owner would be more willing to part ways with Melvin Gordon than the Clyde Edwards-Helaire would.
Yeah. I think that's a potential trade. I think that's a player you'd really want to target as a Jonathon Taylor owner is Melvin Gordon. I really like when I was thinking of him, I was like, Melvin Gordon seems like a fair player to acquire. Melvin Gordon's going to be involved in the passing game. So maybe if you have Jonathon Taylor go and hit those lines of the Melvin Gordon owner, see if you can get something done.
What about Leonard Fournette? That's a little too low for you.
I don't know that it's too low. I'd probably decline it though. I would rather have Jonathon Taylor over Leonard Fournette.
I'm definitely taking Antonio Gibson over Jonathon Taylor.
Interesting. You could definitely get that trade done. You could send the Antonio Gibson owner Jonathon Taylor, and they would probably accept it.
I would like that more. Let's get on to our last one.
Our last player on the sell list is Mike Evans.
Oh.
He came off of a bounce-back performance against the Giants, 5 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. He's definitely a touchdown-dependent wide receiver. More oftentimes than not, he will get the touchdown. It might be kind of hard to sell Mike Evans. You might have to sell Mike Evans for what you can get because I don't think his value is going to it's not going to be great with Antonio Brown returning. I don't think he'll be the number one wide receiver on that team once Antonio Brown comes back.
I don't think he was with Chris Godwin there. And then when they all three come back, you're not in a good space.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is a hard-nosed football player, puts his head down, goes to work, doesn't complain. So Tom Brady doesn't really care if he doesn't get the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I do believe in the Monday night game, the commentator said Tom Brady said he needed to get this guy more involved. But what good does that do when everybody's a weapon? So I think his value is probably as high as it's going to be. You don't want to wait another week for him to drop 2 and then you try and trade him again. Who are you trying to trade if you have Mike Evans? Cooper Kupp? Ooh, that's tough. I don't know if the Cooper Kupp owner would accept that.
I don't know.
You might be able to get Adam Thielen. He's been having a down week.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
Season long, I'd much rather have Adam Thielen over a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, maybe a Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good name. You could offer Mike Evans for Tyler Boyd, and you might be able to pull that off. Then again, the person owning Tyler Boyd seeing those numbers every week. What about Robby Anderson versus Mike Evans? Who would you rather have?
Oh, Robby Anderson.
Boom. That's a trade you could probably get done.
I don't think the Robby Anderson owner is going to take that.
It depends on the scenario.
That's
Mike
true.
Evans is a fat name. You see Mike Evans come in through your trade requests, and you're gonna think long and hard about that trade before you hit decline, assuming it's a reasonable trade.
What if it was 2 players? What if someone offered you Amari Cooper? Nah, let's not do Amari Cooper. That's too
hard.
big of a name. What if someone offered
That is interesting though. Who would you rather have the rest of the season, Amari Cooper or Mike Evans?
Ooh, probably Amari Cooper because Andy Dalton's going to come back.
Fair enough.
He's on the COVID list. I think Andy Dalton will figure out a way to get at least 1 win.
I think I might take Mike Evans in that one.
What about DJ Chark and Brandon Cooks?
For Mike Evans? I would probably take that as the Mike Evans owner. Brandon Cooks has really found his role in that Texans offense. And DJ Chark, even though he's been struggling, consistently gets like 8 to 10 targets each game.
What if you're the Mike Evans owner and you have to give up Jerick McKinnon, let's say? So Mike Evans, Jerick McKinnon for DJ Chark, Brandon Cooks.
Assuming I don't need the running back depth, I would.
Yeah.
That's hard. Oh, that is hard. That's a hard one,
Yeah,
Justin.
because DJ Chark hasn't been producing either. What
Yeah.
about what if it's
I still like Mike Evans' upside because he is I want to say the most targeted player in the red zone in the NFL. So I mean, it's not like he is touchdown dependent, but he is getting touchdowns. He's only not had touchdowns in was it weeks 6 and 7?
what about Corey Davis and Brandon Cooks for Jerick McKinnon and Mike Evans? Is that more the range you're thinking?
Oh,
Maybe
man.
replace one of those with T. Higgins, maybe like T. Higgins and Corey Davis.
Oh, I would take that in a heartbeat. T. Higgins and Corey Davis for Mike Evans and Jerick McKinnon.
Brandon Cooks, though, that's a tough one.
I don't know. I still like Brandon Cooks. I just don't know. It's hard. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I might be valuing Jerick McKinnon too much.
I think you are. Maybe that was a bad example.
Yeah. We just came hot off of the running backs recording where we delved into that.
Yeah.
Check out that video.
Man, you and these plugs.
Hey, man, trying to grow the channel.
You're doing work. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop us a like. That would be so awesome.
And a subscription as well, please. That would be even more awesome.
Man,
Would you rather have a subscription or like
I don't know.
subscription?
Should we just beg more?
We'll beg. Oh, we will beg.
Man, do whatever you guys want to do.
Except make sure that it's positive.
Yeah, we're just glad you watched the video. We can't thank you enough. Drop us a comment. Tell us what your trade targets, your sell targets are. We'd love to hear them. We'll reply to you guys. If you have trade questions, let us know. And that's going to be all.
Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.